Okay, welcome Kathy. Thank you so much for jumping on her platform and having a chat with us this morning.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks, Tasha, for having me.
Not a problem. And I see Tammy's just joined us.
Hi, Tam.
Tammy.
Hello.
Okay, so I'm going to share the screen because Dr. Kathy's got a PowerPoint for us today. And having just tested it, now it doesn't want to work for me. There we go.
It's always a way.
All right, has everybody got the screen there?
Beautiful, thank you.
Okay, so Kathy, you just let me know when you want me to flick over to the next screens.
Alrighty.
Go for it.
Okay, all right. So everyone, thanks for joining us, and we really are just having a chat this morning. I'm pretty casual with these sorts of things, and it's not going to be a formal presentation. It will be just a bit of a chat, because most of us are stuck at home, whether it's with kids or without kids. We're all stuck at home. And you know, some of us are getting a little bit crazy. A bit of cabin fever is setting in with some of us. And what I want to try and talk about this morning is how to promote a bit of calmness and a bit of fun into the environment at home when you're there with children. You know, might be partners, might be an extended family that you're living with. Either way, it's challenging times. So, Tasha, if we can go to the next one, please.
Okay.
Thank you. And we might just minimise, Tash, if you don't mind, so we can see all of the images. Minimise the faces, our faces.
Oh, sorry, is that?
No, that's okay. It doesn't really matter. I just thought we might try and do that. That's okay. We can go with what we've got. So I just threw some images up here when I was preparing this PowerPoint today, just to remind us how crazy this world is at the moment. Every time you turn on the TV or anything on YouTube clips, everything is all about the COVID virus. So, you know, we can't avoid it, can we? It's everywhere. It's every time we talk to people. Yeah, every time we talk to people, every time we turn the TV on, listen to the radio, anything. It's all about the virus because it is such a big thing at the moment. And I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But it does set up some interesting situations and contexts at home, because people are at home. Some people are trying to work from home with their children with them. Some people are just at home. Some people are worried about their elderly relatives. So there's all this financial burden as well, and some people are out of work. So it's created a whole range of issues for many families. And there's all of this stay-at-home business as well, because people are still going out. So there's all this angst about, you know, people going out and maybe, you know, spreading the virus even more. So there's a bit of fear being generated as well. But at home, we have, you know, families that might be stuck together. Some of us might be playing board games with their children. Some of us might be just totally frustrated with their children. Some of us might have thought of interesting things to do. Some of us might be able to go outside. We might have a backyard. We might have a garden that we can go out into. Some of us have a balcony. Some of us don't have either of those things. So there's a range of different things that are going on for us at the moment, which can be quite challenging. So what I want to talk about this morning is just some ways that we can work with our children at home during this period of time that might make life a little bit easier for them and easier for you, so that we can work through this time, because we don't really know how long this is going to go on. Yeah. So it's you know, a tricky sort of thing to think about. So I've sort of thought of 5 different points that I wanted to raise with you today. And the first one is about the language that we use. Really important to think about what we're saying in front of our children to other adults, what we're saying on the phone, what we're texting, what we're putting on social media, the type of language that we're using ourselves, because the children overhear everything that we do and say, and the children are like sponges. They'll just suck in all of might be a bit of fear, might be a bit of tension, whatever the energy is that you're putting out there, the children are going to feel that too. Have you noticed, though, that there's a bit of anxiety around this, and there's a bit of concern, because people are saying, you know, as they sign off from everybody, they say stay safe, stay well, you know, hope you're okay. They call and say, are you okay? So there's all of this sort of language. So that language, whilst it's caring and lovely and said with the best of intentions, it's actually making us feel like, well, maybe you're not well, maybe you're actually not okay. So it's, just flipping that around a little bit and going back to what we used to say, like, okay, talk to you next week, have a good day, have fun today, using that sort of language, which was a lot more positive and, a lot more normal, so that we've got that normality in our lives again. Because as children listen to what we say and the way we say it, they are processing all of that information in their small little child's brain. And whilst we as adults understand what the situation is a little bit better, the children don't. They pick up more on your energy, and they pick up on the energy that's being promoted in the media. As I just said, every time you turn the TV on, Scott Morrison is on TV, or some politician is on TV, or there's pointers about what to do during the virus, all of those things. Children pick that up and they're trying to process it, and they're trying to sort of be calm about all of this, but it's hard. They don't understand things the way we understand things. So let's make sure that we use language that's a little bit more positive in our homes, so that the children aren't picking up on the fear and anxiety and the tension and the stress that this situation is obviously causing throughout the whole world. But, let's not expose our children to that too much. Yeah, we've got to be realistic, and they've got to understand that they need to wash hands, we need to be careful because there's germs now, people are getting sick, of course. But we just need to be mindful not to focus too much on the negative. And if we do, talk to another adult in private about it, without children listening in, because they're not understanding it the same as we do.
Yeah, good point.
Next one, please. So here's some other things that you might be able to do. And depending on your living situation, it might not always be possible to do this, but try and adapt what I'm going to say now to as many, to your situation. Try and go outside as much as you can. If you're out in the sunlight, and we've got beautiful weather in Queensland at the moment, so, if you're able to go outside, it's perfect now, just the perfect temperature, it's beautiful. And sunlight, day and night, helps us to regulate our body clock. So we actually need the sun to stimulate our brain, so our brain knows, oh, it's time to wake up, it's daylight. That's why so many people wake up at the crack of dawn, because that's how their body clock is set up. As soon as it's light, their brain is stimulated and they wake up just naturally. We've all experienced that when, we've just woken up at the crack of dawn. And then, some people are tired by 6:30, 7 o'clock at night because the sun's gone down and their rhythm, their body clock is in tune with the changes between day and night. So going outside in the sunlight is actually a really good thing, just so you can keep that rhythm in your brain, so that you have a good sleep, and sleep's really important. Vitamin D is out, that's what you get from the sun, and that helps boost your immunity as well. So, vitamin D is good for that. It's also helping, but the sun is also helping to regulate that body clock so that you get good sleep. When you get good sleep, your body heals and your immune system is strong. So it sort of plays in together. So we need to make sure that we are getting outside into the sunlight as much as we can. And I don't know about you, but whenever I go outside, it just makes me feel happier. It's a whole different feel. It's a whole different dynamic, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
Yeah, so and that releases all those endorphins in your brain, and they're the happy hormones, and that makes you feel good. So it makes you smile, makes you feel good, makes you feel free, makes you feel light. And we need that. We need that at the moment as well, for our own health, but also just to relieve that mental stress that we may be feeling because of everything that's going on in the world at the moment. So we also have this general improvement in health if we can go outside. Our vision is improved, it's strengthened because the sunlight helps strengthen our eyesight, and our behaviour changes. Because of the endorphins, we're happier, and children are calmer. Children just play more, and they're happier and calmer. So if we can go outside with the children, it's really nice. And I know that some of us are trying to juggle work as well as with the children, and I get that. And I also get that you need a bit of space away from the children. You don't always want to be with them 24/7. Goodness knows it's going to be long enough. And as much as we love them, sometimes it's not always easy to be 24/7 with the children. So going outside with them or sending the children outside for a while, but you go outside too because it's important for you.
Yeah.
So here are some things that you might be able to put together that you can do either outside or inside, just to help pass the time. And these are really easy, simple things that you can do or make with the children or yourself, and prepare them depending on how old your children are. But thinking about the sorts of games that we used to play when we were children too. Blowing bubbles with the washing up liquid, and letting the children chase the bubbles. And when you do that, when you are making bubbles, there is a little bit of a secret. They do work best if the detergent is straight. But you can put a little bit of water in it. But when when you get the cup and the detergent's in there, and you tend to get the bubble blower, which could be anything. It could be just a piece of wire. It could be anything that you've got in your kitchen cupboard that's got a bit of a hole like that. And most people put the detergent in, then they get the thing in and they just whiz it round like that. If you do that, the bubbles don't last very well. So just a tip: put the detergent in, a little drop of water, and then just put the blower in and take it out, and then blow. It makes the bubbles last a lot longer, and they're better quality bubbles, believe me. I've tried it lots of times.
Quality bubbles, I like it.
Quality bubbles. And those quality bubbles are fantastic because you can do a little bit of teaching with this as well. So you can get the children to count how many bubbles. You can get them to chase the bubbles and pop the bubbles and count how many they pop. So you can do a little bit of maths with them. It's really great for that physical body movement because they're running and they're chasing those quality bubbles. So there's a little bit of learning that can happen as well as having a bit of fun. And you can be the bubble blower, or the children can be the bubble blower. Take turns. It's fun. I'm sure you remember doing that when you were young. It's fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Another simple thing is make a 10-pin bowling alley, but just use soft drink bottles. And if you want to, you can put a little bit of dirt or sand in the bottom of them just to weight them, or not. Just leave them as they are and line them all up, in that triangle formation, like 10-pin bowling, and just use a tennis ball to knock them over. And so you can make your own little alley for that. That's easy. And that again, you can do some maths of that. How many did you knock over? How many did we start with? How many did you knock over? So 10, you knocked over 3. How many's left? You can do a lot of that math sort of stuff with them as well. It's really great for hand-eye coordination, and again, those physical gross motor movements, because you're bowling underarm, and that's a lot of this shoulder movement, and these gross motor muscles as well are being strengthened. So that's important, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Another really cheap one that you can do is, if you've got any pantyhose at home that, or even those knee-high stockings, you can use these. Yeah, or you can do something like this man and put it on his head, and I think you might need to have some alcohol involved to do something like that. But I don't know.
I've seen this one done where you tie it around your waist, and it creates a whole different version of the game, I think, when it's around your waist.
Yes, I'm sure it looks a little different. So, you can do something like that man's doing. You can have a whole stack of those bottles sort of standing up, and they've got water in them just to weight them a little bit. And, that's a really good perception game, and that hand-eye coordination too, that sort of thing. You can also make a bat and a ball from pantyhose. So if you cut the pantyhose in half, you can, down one leg, you just scrunch up from some newspaper. So if you get the children to do that and you're scrunching up the newspaper, that's really good fine motor skill development. So these small muscles are being developed. So you stuff that down into the toe until it's fat enough to make like a ball. And then you can hang that from a pergola or from a tree or something outside. And then you can use your hand to either be the bat, or you can get those old wire coat hangers. Do you remember the wire coat hangers?
Yeah.
And you can pull them apart and open them up a little bit so it's more like a diamond shape, and then put the other pantyhose, stick that in the other pantyhose and tie it off, and that becomes your bat.
Okay.
So you could use a bat and a ball that way, and you know, the hours of fun there. Great hand-eye coordination, and children have to bat and ball like that. So hit the ball like that. So they're crossing this midline, and that's really good for their brain development as well.
Okay.
What's the time, Mr. Wolf?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you remember that game. Yeah, Tammy's saying yes. Yeah, Tasha, you saying yes?
Definitely.
So what's the time, Mr. Wolf? For those of you who don't know what that is, someone stands at, you know, at one end of the garden or one end of the lounge room. Everybody else is behind, and they say, "What's the time, Mr. Wolf?" And the person at the front, the wolf, says 1 o'clock. So they take one step forward, and then they say, and he turns around, you've got to freeze. What's the time? Oh, no, you don't. No, you don't freeze. That's a different game. This is what's the time, Mr. Wolf. Then you might say, "What's the time, Mr. Wolf?" You might say 7 o'clock. So you take 7 steps. And the person that first gets to Mr. Wolf is the next Mr. Wolf. So that's just a fun game. Copy the shadow. Sunny day like it is today. Beautiful outside, making shadows on the ground. Children can either, you know, make a shape with their shadow, and then everybody else has to copy that shape, or they can jump on the shadows and try and catch the shadow. Another gross motor game. Painting with water. You've got some paint brushes, little bucket, water in the paintbrush, and they can paint the house, so they can paint the concrete, or they can paint the pergola floor, but it's only with water, so it just dries immediately. So, but you know, that's a nice thing for children to do too. Making car tracks, that image there with the tape on the ground, and children can, you know, make their own car tracks. You can have a scavenger hunt if you want to put in a little bit more time. You can make a list for the children to find the things outside. So it might be, you know, find three green things, you know, 2 red things and 7 brown things, something like that. Give the children some sheets and towels outside, let them build cubby houses, and let them use their imagination and do some of that play and role play and dramatic play. That is so good for them to play out any of their anxieties or any of their feelings around this whole virus time. Any worries that they've got, children will play it out. So giving them an opportunity to have a cubby house and to be able to role play is really good, not only for their creativity and for their mind and their social skills and, you know, oral language and a whole range of other things, but in this time in particular, it's important that children have those opportunities to play. So any worries, that they can actually get them out through a play situation.
I still make cubby houses with sheets and towels at 47, so maybe I'll...
There you go. Maybe you need to do a bit of dramatic play as well. I don't know. The other thing is you can get a cushion and tie a bit of rope to one corner of it and hang that from the pergola or from a tree, and use that as a bit of a punching bag. The children use it as a punching bag. So if they are anxious, or if they've got brothers and sisters that they're constantly arguing with and there's just a bit of tension in the house, tell them to go punch the bag. And they can go outside and actually let a little bit of aggression out, and a little bit of anger out, and it just makes it feel good, makes us feel good, you know, when you can just let those emotions out, because we don't want to keep everything inside. We want to actually let these emotions out, but in a safe way with boundaries. And so that's the only place that they can punch and they can hit and they can kick. That's the only place is this cushion that's hanging from the tree or from the pergola. So there's a boundary that we set around that, because there's a purpose for this. And yeah, it's a little bit quirky, it's a bit funny, the kids think it's funny, but there's actually a purpose behind having that set up in your home. The other thing is you might want to do is just put on some music, like either outside or inside, and dance. And dancing changes your whole mental state and your whole physical state and puts everything in alignment. It's great gross motor movement. It's, you know, so it's good for building muscles with children, small muscles. Those endorphins start flying around with those happy hormones that I talked about before. And it's just fun. And it just relieves a whole lot of tension and changes the atmosphere, changes the whole dynamic. So, you know, that's a simple one to do. Yep. You can make grassy heads. Again, we're going back to the pantyhose, the grassy heads that you may or may not have heard of before. Put some, you know, grass seeds in the bottom, in the toe of the pantyhose. You fill it with soil like the top right-hand photo is there. That's a grassy head. Then your children can, you know, find something that they can draw faces on the head, and then you put the tail of the stocking in a cup of water, and the water goes up into the soil. The seeds germinate, and next thing there's all these green spiky things coming out of the top, out of the head. And children love trimming it and making it a mohawk and, you know, doing all these sorts of things. So that's sort of like an ongoing science experiment, I guess you'd say. And the last one that I've listed there today, I mean, I could have gone on and on, but I think that's, you know, fair range. But the last one is finger puppets. Let them play with finger puppets as well. And that's really literally using your fingers and drawing faces on the fingers. And then, you know, some children can be quite creative, and they'll continue down the finger and draw, you know, shorts, or they'll get material and wrap around their fingers and make them dresses and whatever. So, but having those opportunities for children by just putting out some collage-y type things, so bits of material, bits of paper, so that the children can be creative and maybe add to those finger puppet idea. So just a few things there, some outside big things and some smaller focused things. But the thing is to try and get outside as much as you can and play some games. Good for you, good for them.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tash. Next one. Okay, so we're coming toward the end now. We're up to number 4. And this is a bit of a reminder for all of us to think about the amount of screen time that we're all engaging in, the amount of screen time that the children have, and the amount of screen time that we have. There's blue light that's emitted from screens. The closer you are to the screen, the more that your eyes are affected by this blue light, particularly if you are looking at a screen fairly close up, like an iPad or an iPhone or something like that at night time. It disturbs your sleep because there's blue light that is emitted from the screen. TV is not so bad because it's usually at a distance, but anything that's up close to your face emits this blue light that goes in and keeps you awake. Now, if we're sitting looking at a screen all the time, obviously we're not outside doing all of those things I've just said in the last slide, which means we're just sitting around more, and us and children, and being overweight, putting on extra weight in this time, because remember, this could be a few months. If we're just sitting around engaged with the screen for a few months, going to long, and you know that gives us then the disposition to diabetes. And if you already have that condition, it's not going to help by sitting and using the screens all the time. It sets up an unhealthy sort of reliance on screens. And my worry about screens is that we'll forget how to talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we need to make sure that the screens go away. We have a bit of a schedule for the screen. So, okay, no TV till 1 o'clock this afternoon, or no iPad until 10 a.m, whatever's going to fit with your family. And then when that screen time is on, it does happen, it's limited. It's not, so for the rest of the day you can watch Netflix until, 9 o'clock when it's bedtime. It's like, okay, but let's watch one show, let's watch 2 episodes of something on Netflix or on TV or whatever it might be. Let's limit it. Let's have some scheduled time. So we're going to have some outside time, some inside. We're going to do some cooking. We're going to put some music on. Then we'll have an hour on the screens, whichever screen you choose. Yeah. But let's mix it up a bit and have a little bit of screen time. Remember, though, that means us too. Yeah. So we can't constantly be sitting on our phone, then saying, no screen time, and looking back at the phone and posting on Facebook and checking on things. So, because it's not good for our mental health either. So, as much as we're trying to look after our children, we have to look after us too and be a role model, because screens are quite addictive.
Yeah.
And I've had parents over the years come to me and talk to me about their children who are addicted to these screens, and they have so much trouble trying to get their children away from the screens, wean them off the screens. And we end up having to put in a whole process of weaning the children off the screens, because the children are addicted to it.
Yeah.
We get addicted to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, think about when you wake up in the morning, whether you just reach for your phone, look at your phone first up.
I do.
Yeah, me too. So, I mean, I'm conscious of it as well. Our last point. If your child comes to you and says, what that little boy at the top there is saying, I'm bored, rub your hands with glee and say, hallelujah, thank goodness, because that's what we want. Because if children come to you and they're bored, that's a good thing, because firstly, you shouldn't be the one thinking about everything that the children do all day, every day. Your brain already works. What you should be wanting the children to do is use their own brain. We want them to be creative. We want them to think of something to do. We want them to solve a problem. Oh, we want to play this game, but we don't have this. Oh, okay, so what could we substitute for it? We want them to make the decisions. I'll do this now, but that later. We want them to be independent and think about how they're going to manage themselves. We want them to be resilient, like, oh, can't do that now? Okay, we'll have to wait. Oh, we don't have everything that I need for that game. Oh, well, I'll have to find something else to do. We want them to be resilient. Now, we want them to develop, and this is a great time, by the way, this is a positive of this whole time. We want them to get a bit bored, and we want them to develop all of those skills, because in their jobs in the future, in 10, 15 years' time, they are going to need those skills. They're going to need to know how to communicate with other people. They're going to need to know how to be creative, use their imagination, problem solve, decision make, and a range of different other skills that they are going to need to be successful in the job market in years to come. So if we spoon feed them and give them activities to do and just really entertain them for the next few months, we're not giving them the opportunity to build those skills. And these are the skills they're going to need to be productive, healthy, successful adults in the future.
Yeah.
This one is really important. So for parents that are listening to the recording and all of us on now, I'm giving you permission not to entertain and to be guilt-free. So if the children are bored, go, yes, I've done a great job. So guilt-free boredom, okay? That's your new mantra, guilt-free boredom. Talk to the children, communicate with them, say, okay, well, we don't have this, so what could we do? Instead of saying, okay, I'll go and find something and I'll get this, and, say, well, what could we do? What else could we do? Can you think of another way to do that? So use those questions to get them using their own brain. Okay, so because our brain already works, we have already been through this, but they are developing these skills. So give them the chance to develop those skills. So I'm bored, perfect.
Yeah.
And that's me. That's the end of those 5 points. And if you want to know a little bit more, you can find me at these spots. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. And that's it.
That was great. So we've actually got a few. Hang on, I'll stop sharing the screen. There we go. We've got a few more talks coming up with you, so they'll so stay tuned for those as well. But yeah, so people can jump on Future Strong Education, and what sort of stuff can they find in there, Kathy?
Well, you'll see different courses and presentations that I do there. You'll see a little bit about money beliefs as well, and what that means for children, and for the way that your own belief system has been set up around money from your early childhood years. You'll see a bit about me. You'll see some of our future things that we've got planned, because we're future strong. And that's the idea. We're trying to build a strong future for young children, and that's my mission, and that's what I'm all about. And next week we're going to be talking about caring for yourself, caring for parents, and the types of things that you can put in place for you, and we've got some other things in store, haven't we, Tasha?
Yeah, we have a bit of a series coming up, which will be fantastic.
Yeah.
Excellent. Tammy, did you have any questions?
No, they were all really helpful points, actually. I was late this morning because we were doing some more artwork to stick on our fence. So we were busy this morning already, and now they're quiet, which is lovely. So I've had this lovely half hour. So no, thank you. Those were really helpful.
Great.
Great,
Thanks.
money as well. You don't need a lot of stuff. Yeah.
So, yeah, that was really, I enjoyed I've got teenage kids, but even some of those tips, my kids would play some of those things, so I'd happily give them a go.
Well, good. I'm glad that's been helpful, and yeah, thanks for joining us live, Tammy, and
No worries.
And those listening to the recording, I'm glad you're able to listen to the recording.
Yeah, it'll be great. So I'm just going to stop the recording. Just hang on for a second. But thank you so much, Kathy. We'll have this up on YouTube later today anyway for everyone else to watch. Thanks.